Hello everyone, my name is Hadrian, and at this I can see some terrorized faces who thought that the whole talk will be in Chinese, but not to worry. Um, Not to worry, I just explained that the whole talk, well, most of the talk will be in English, and only there'll be a small part in Mandarin Chinese at the very end of the talk. Um, well, like, the part in Chinese will be for people who, like me, appreciate the richness and mesmerizing beauty of this language. Um, okay, so the title of this talk is the concept of mapping applied to foreign language acquisition. 论在性之外的系统中的应用. It might actually sound a little bit scary, but I hope to make points associated with it as simple and comprehensible as possible. So, also, if I could ask you to hold on with your question until the end of the talk, I would be really glad, because I'm nowhere near sure that I'll fit perfectly in a time frame. Okay, so without further ado, let's start. So what is mapping? What does it exactly mean in terms of learning skills? If you imagine that you want to learn a language, it shouldn't be hard given the nature of this conference. What is it exactly that you're doing? When you learn a skill, it could be anything actually. Your brain searches for connections and associations. It tries to fill itself with stuff. And I would say it tries to look for patterns. So your brain searches for connections, and if the incoming information is all chaos, then you won't learn anything because there's just too much thing you don't understand. But then again, if the input is order, then there's no novelty, so you may not gain anything from this experience of the Bratislava chairs. Okay. Well, so to the point, mapping is a process of becoming aware of those underlying strategies used by brain that would make learning a language much more fruitful and, like just faster. It's the notion of paying attention to how particular areas of studying language are correlated to one another, and also why they are placed, or where they are placed on the spectrum of your knowledge about them, let's say. How do you treat them in comparison to other elements of the language? A good example would be a knowledge that there are such things as nouns, verbs, or adjectives. It's fairly low level of abstraction, so it's not hard to understand, but it's insanely helpful on your language learning journey, because they have different functions, so they have different rules, and if you understand just how different they are, it just makes everything easier than saying that you have to learn, for example, 2,000 words. Like, it doesn't help you in any way. So you could memorize endless phrases situation by situation, but I mean, you do this anyways. But learning language is firstly about making this pool of associations of known words and how to use them in order to express yourself, in order to actually say something original. I would also say it's like skill of improvisation. It's almost similar to music when you learn scales, and you don't learn them to just running down and up scales in order to. It won't sound like music. You want to map out the possible note choices in order to be able to choose what you want to play and be free with your knowledge about it. It's the same thing with language. You want to be able to express yourself, not just be able to repeat some phrases. So, okay, so let's look at this process of mapping in some specific areas of language learning, like phonology. Let's start with it. So the one, I would say, some might say that phonology is the least important part of language learning, because you can speak with someone with, with poor grammar, or sorry, with poor phonology but good grammar, and you still will be understood. But I'll come up with the perspective that you want to master any given language, and in order to do so, you need to be able to move yourself freely on different spectrums of this language, among which there's also phonology. So I would say, well, especially with languages that are very, very different, like for example Chinese for European speakers, it's just insanely important. You cannot stress enough how important it is to be able to be understood, because if you don't want to mess up tones, man. Okay, so I'm trying to pronounce a sound that is absent in my mother tongue. What is it exactly that I'm trying to do? I would say, if I don't know how to say something, it just means that I either lack in imitation skills, or maybe I have no enough exposure, or the case that I'll discuss now, I don't actually know how to pronounce the sound. I don't know where it is, pronounce how it is pronounced and stuff like that. And I could go on and on telling you how different or how important it is for building up your listening skills and having enough exposure. But I would say the most important thing that you will ever have to learn about phonology is just purely IPA. There was talk already about this, and it's just a really simple system. IPA, okay, so it stands for International Phonetics Alphabet. It's just a chart of sounds that you can make, either vowels or consonants, which will help you to know where and how are they pronounced, because there are just clear places and manners of articulations, and all of you know like at least 20 or maybe, I don't know, even 40, 60 of different sounds from IPA, so you already have point of how do you say it? You already know a lot of stuff from them, so you can relate to what you will see in this chart. So for example, I don't know, like t sound. It's like almost every language I would say has the t sound. So I would say if you see the T letter in IPA, you already know what it is, and a lot of them are similar based on letters that you already know from Latin script. And I would say this is the only thing that you will need ever if you will learn about phonology. If you don't know anything about it, I would advise you to search it on a Wikipedia and just give it a go. If it comes to grammar, I would say, well, we all struggle. We all struggle to some degree with the grammar in different languages, unless there are very cognate languages, very similar ones. But I would say, I never had to learn any single English grammar rule in my whole life, but it took me I don't know, maybe 10 years, maybe more than that to learn English, so I wouldn't really call it sufficient way of learning. So I would say don't be scared of grammar, because there are things that, well, you could learn grammar from book, and okay, it's okay. You could learn grammar by, you know, recognizing words and seeing, okay, so this works like that. I never have read anything about this grammar structure, but it just makes sense by the words that there are in this structure. And if you have sufficient exposure, I would say it is, if you have sufficient exposure to it, they are used to other words in the sentence that it just logically makes sense, even though there might be some words of word order differences according to the languages that you already speak. And if you feel like you can grasp why structure is a certain way, then I would say just leave it and go on. Like in 1 month you'll be able to understand it without any problem, I would say. So, oh yeah, and creative ideas. Creative ideas about the grammar are also very helpful. For example, in Chinese, I quickly discovered that, for example, measure words, there's something called measure words, which is you put numeral and then something between numeral and noun. So it's like saying 1 unit of a person, because any noun in Chinese is uncountable. So you need something to count it with. And it's no fun to do this at the beginning, but I would say that pretty quickly it helped me to think about it as definite articles. So instead of thinking that "ika" means something like 1 unit of, I would say it's the, but just customizable according to the next noun. So if you take this approach of actually making it funny thing to do or interesting thing to do, that you will just find out that, well, it's original to make those thoughts, and it helps you to make this memory stick into your brain. And the more original you get with these kind of thoughts, with these kind of concepts, the easier it will get to remember the phrases and stuff like that. And obviously, if a language has some completely alien thing to it, like, I don't know, maybe cases or a lot of different tenses, I would say I don't think there is a way around it. You just need a lot of exposure. and that's how you learn. Studying and training skills is okay. Let's start with listening skills. Basically, you need to be attentive. You need to know that if you learn a cognate language, it's not going well. It's going to be not so difficult, according to, you know, for example, Italian and French. Like, if you know one of these languages, the other one will be actually pretty easy. Also, if you listen to a language and you need to be attentive, there will be moments when you will think that, well, I know this word, and then you will have like 3 seconds, like 3 span seconds in which you will remember what's the meaning of the word, and with time, you will just find out that this time diminishes into 2 seconds, 1 second, and in the end it will be like instantaneous. But you need this listening exposure in order to be able to constantly, on the run, be able to understand what people are saying. Also, one thing that is very important when listening, especially in cognate languages, because let's say you have 15 words in a sentence. If you don't have enough exposure, you will be jumping from word to word, and you will be not able to understand anything, because your brain isn't able to store 15 words in short memory in order to understand the whole sentence. You really need this exposure. The same goes with reading. So obviously there are like writing systems that work differently. If you learn Spanish, there is no problem with that, because it works. It's written as it is spoken. If you learn Arabic, you will have to also learn grammar, because you cannot you don't know what the short vowels are if you don't know the grammar rules. And you know, if you learn Chinese, you just need to be able to every day just grind characters and just viciously go on them day by day for long months, basically. If it comes to speaking, well, some of you are into the idea of speak from day one. I don't like. Okay, more power to you. But if you will learn a cognate language, maybe it's okay. But if you learn something much more different, then from day one you won't be able to speak anything other than I am Y, I like X. Like, it's not sophisticated form of communication. If that's your goal, okay. But you won't be able to have a conversation with people. You want to be able to exchange information with them. You want to be able to hold on, you know, some topic that interests you, and you can exchange some value with other people. And you can only do this if you have enough tools to doing it. Okay, so if it comes to memory, everyone has their own methods, really. Some like grouping words into categories. Some like to learn lists of vocabulary based on the similar beginnings. Sorry, like for example, I just like to cram great amounts of information into the practice and just see what sticks for the next day. Memory policies are also very helpful. For example, with vocabulary lists, especially if you enjoy making them and reuse them for different languages, it's particularly effective for quickly coming up with translations between different languages. So for those of you who don't know how memory policies work, it's something like a room in which you go in your mind, and there are objects in it for which you should learn words. So you don't want to feel trapped in it. You want to be able to walk into the space, whatever it might be. It might be a park, it might be your room, and walk out from there without feeling trapped inside. And you always want to have one route, so after this thing comes next, and it's always the same pattern to remember every time. So you might even learn how to, with time you can only learn how to be sneaky. For example, in Chinese, at least in the beginning, if you don't know someone's names, and it happens every time that you talk with someone, and especially in a place like this that you don't remember the name, you can always ask them, well, what are your tones in your name? And they'll just repeat their name. So that's a good tip for you. If it comes to culture, I think this is probably the biggest topic. I would say that language is almost not like learning couple of words that are used for expressing what you would express in your own tongue. It's more like learning how to be a different person, how to fit into different frame, how to be able to express yourself in completely different manner. Even, you know, language is just not words. It's more like gestures. It's more like being able to, you know, see differences regarding people traits. Language is history. Language is literature of a country. Language is just culture, simply put. Also, if you learn a language, you particularly decided to want to learn that culture. So, well, you should go on and embrace it. Because the more you make a language relevant to you, the more it sticks to your memory, the more it sticks to your daily life. And the more your brain will be able to work to adapt to this new linguistic environment. And I bet all of you know people who've been in a country for like 10 years and they just don't know how to speak the language. Because probably is because they don't care, probably is because they, you know, they thought that they can function in this language with limited vocabulary, and they might, but well, it's not very, I don't know, ask yourself if you want to be this person. It's that simple. And I think we as humans don't necessarily live in a physical world. It's more like we live in a functional world. It's more like we don't see the things that are happening around us as physical objects. For example, the chairs on which you are sitting are not physical objects to you. You come up into this room and you see them as a function. You see them that you should sit in that place to be able to do what are you here for, to listen to the talk. And I'm here. This is basically a stage, so I'm standing here and the whole room tells you that you should face this direction, I should face this one. And it's not about physical thing. The same goes with language. It's not about physical words. It's more about how you feel about the different person, how you interact with people. And also, the same goes with, I would say, I know it brought it up, so there's a purpose to acknowledge it. So the same holds true with languages, as there are things that are relevant to you. Like if you learn a language in order to, I don't know, communicate with your partner, you would learn words like, I don't know, kiss me, I love you, wash the dishes, not like that, stuff like that. Instead of, I don't know, cosmic background radiation. Well, situation would be different if you were majoring in physics, but okay. And actually that brings us nicely to next point, which is your personal life. And learning languages just takes effort. But first and foremost, it takes time, and you just can't work around it. You'll always need to spend a lot of time studying and getting yourself in tune with the language. So good information is that whoever you are, you probably aren't functioning on 100% of your capacity. So if you want to learn a language, if you want to learn words by vocabulary lists, then it's like cramming in fresh information. But if you heard a word like a couple of times, then, or like 20 of times, for example, the first time you see the translation, you'll be like, okay, so I've seen this word a couple of times. It's relevant to me because it comes up very quickly, or sorry, very often. So that's why I'd say listening is just crucial for your language practice. And you can do this whenever. If you're going to work by a car and it's like 10 or 20 minutes you could spend on listening, or going to the gym, taking train or tram, even these short moments between duties throughout the day. So, you know, just use this time as you would use any, you know, your best resources for it. So if you listen to language for like 1,000 hours a year, it will just really make you, well, good at listening, at being able to understand what the people are talking about. And if you feel, you know, I think that physical exercise could do you also no harm. Like learn through that how to maintain discipline. So for example, I don't know, you go to the gym and you listen, or you go for a run. It will just make you feel better, and you will have better discipline, which will bleed into your language practice. And I think this is also very important, to put the language into your life as element of it, and be able to connect it with other abilities or other your profession, for example, in your life, other activities. Okay, so I'm not for example, I'm not a fan of learning languages through music, as it just seems inefficient compared to other methods. But well, whatever gives you tingles, the most important thing is that you actually enjoy how to learn this language. If you don't, there is no point. You got to make sure it stays interesting to you, feeding yourself with relevant input. Maybe you learn a language because it's fun to you. I would say if you want to learn a fun language, choose Mandarin Chinese or Dutch. It will be the best time of your life, man. And also, one more point I want to make is that it's so important to have an agenda, a goal to accomplish by a specific time, because it will drive you towards learning. When you just feel like learning in French today, it won't do, because it will just take you way too much time, because you won't take your goal seriously. You will be like messing around doing some stuff. And if you want to learn a lot of languages, you just don't have time for doing this. You need to have schedule, you need to have a routine every day. So you need to, like, I don't know, learn 100 characters a day, 100 words a day, or 15 characters a day, something like that. So don't stress too much about it. Learning a language will take you a hell lot of time, but take it easy. Let's get some tan. So if you fail, don't overthink it. Just acknowledge it and move on. Even if the beginning you are thinking that a language is interesting, and further on you discover that it has a lot of cases, I don't know, some tenses, or they make you drink hot water, then just find something else for you. Okay, so if you want to sit here for the Chinese part, let's enjoy it. If you want to wake up, there's the best time for this, because, yeah, well. 首先我要跟大家分享我学汉语那个小故事，好不好？其实我学汉语那个决定是非常偶然的，然后每个人可能会受生活的启发。我是谁？我到底是什么样子的人？我们都知道我们的能力还不足以履行对生活的使命。每天需要学习，每天练习，然后改造我们的性格或者提高我们的才干，这是人生最大最重要的一部分。然后我觉得我本来的目标只是改变我自己。我之前觉得我是太懒的一个人，我不喜欢这样。然后我最近在改善我的生活。那有一天我在想，我需要开始学一门新的语言。我有4条选择语言的标准，就是第一，不会太简单，我需要选择一门比较有挑战性的语言。第二，我应该选择一门特别有意思的语言，它不会让我觉得学它是无趣的。第三，有语言对大脑有不同影响，因此我热爱学语言。第四，所有的语言有它自己的一些特色，它自己文化你要习惯，或者它的语法你要习惯。然后总而言之，我觉得语言可以改变你的念头，你的性格。但是什么意思呢？其实很简单，你通过学习语言不同的系统表达你自己的观点，但不是一样的系统，因为你不可能把一个新的语言就是表达你自己的性格很好，就是因为是新的系统、新的文化，就是学什么样的语言可以给我觉得学什么样的语言可以给我这样的机会，就是改变我自己的性格的机会，或者从长远来看，学什么样的语言对我现在的生活最好呢？那我试试看。然后我有2段对我的决定很重要的小经历想要给大家分享。第一个经历，上次在去年的时候，在人迷人的地方，我认识过一个精彩的人。他住在日本，工作在日本，他是一个国际经济的老师。我记得咱俩的对话，关于生活中怎么做决定的，关于我们对生活的经历和看法。然后他说出来一个我忘不了的句子，他跟我说过，有的时候我感觉亚洲在召唤我， 这句话真的触动我，因为这是非常积极的态度。我当时也这样觉得，当时我也没办法表达这概念。可是从这之后，我决定我需要选择一门亚洲的语言。后来了解截然不同的文化，然后但我的计划还不够具体。那第二个经历呢，那个会议后我还打算重选分叉到西欧其他国家。然后我认识了一个特别疯狂的朋友，他已经会说中文。然后我自己以前对中国的文化没有什么特别感兴趣，可是他让我对中文这门语言感兴趣的不得了。他就是特别疯狂的一种情况。我记得我当时认为就是非常棒，这种语言特别有意思的。文化呢不一样，历史那么长，然后还有那个怎么讲，非常有异国情调。那好，于是我选择学汉语，决定完了我就来开始吧。那9个月前我离开巴黎就开始学习词汇汉字了。那很多人说中文是很难写的一种语言。对啊，对一个欧洲人来说，中文有很多部分很难习惯了。我觉得有很多欧洲语言为母语的人，可能像汉语的发音非常困难。初期时声调特别奇怪。不过语法来说，很多人说中文的语法很好学，但是我个人的看法就是不是因为你不需要学习那个动词的形式，中文有动词是态的语法。比如说在那个西语里面你会说yo meto, tú metes, nosotros metemos, nosotros estamos metiendo 等等。但在中文里面就是我放，你放，他放，我们放，他们放，大家放，这部分挺容易，没什么大不了。但是呢，我很快发现怎么来说呢，我的句子跟中国人的句子比起来非常不一样。我跟中国人对话的时候，当我说完后，他经常问我所以你的意思就是，然后用不一样的词、不一样的语法重复我刚刚说出来的那个句子。如果不是个语法的问题是什么？那当然别的语言的话也可以有一样的问题。其实我觉得文化越不一样，这个问题越常见。他也会有他自己的口语的习惯，但如果我需要学习汉语学得很好，我需要知道他表示的方法，对不对？那然后数学系统的话，大家都知道最大的问题在哪里。汉字的数量就是很庞大，你需要学50个汉字。那半年学习的过程之后，你还不知道怎么朗读大部分的句子。你阅读一篇文章，你完全不了解它的意思。虽然你学了很多，但是很多汉字还不认识。那我相信日语的学生也有问题吧。那好吧，如果怎么来说呢？不可否认这个过程是困难，但是你肯定有受益匪浅，对吧？我觉得是一个非常简单的一个情况。那我学那么多汉字之后，都我的记忆力的问题就是都消失了。我真的觉得这个影响太神奇了。我现在经常能记起很久之前的事情，在日常生活当中，我在街上走路的时候，以往的记忆突然浮现在眼前。然后更多的关联的会议也被慢慢记起。在10分钟的时候，我可以记起7、8段相关的会议。那就是开始的时候我会有些担心，因为我不能所以控制我的大脑。但之后我学了怎么控制这个过程。我现在可以控制我希望我回想的记忆。然后我还是认为如果你的母语没声调的话，然后你开始学一门有这样的发音的特定的语言，你会马上发现，我不仅仅是学怎么发音声调，我的大脑在学怎么 快速学新的语言环境，是他也在学怎么学习不同的环境。我真的认为你以后可以把这新的技巧运用在别的情况。学汉字是一模一样，在学它的那个过程当中，你学规律，然后你可以熟练在别的情况。然后这样的学习的经验将要改变你对于别的文化的看法。比如说我学中文之前，我完全不知道对有声调的母语的人学别的语言那么困难，因为他可能觉得他学的外语的词也有声调，然后他会把一个英语的词，比如说working， 发音它跟第一和第三声调，就是 working， 然后第一次听到这个特点，我觉得关于语言的常识我还是太缺乏了。然后好吧，中文在文字声调文化上西方语言有这么大差异，那为什么选择了中文呢？其实我觉得在潜意识里，我已经觉得中文这门语言彻底要改变我了。就是它是我觉得这门语言是特别，是特别。作为一个欧洲人来说，可能是非常困难，但是如果你想把中文学好，你需要花很多时间，花同样的时间，你可能已经学会了基本别的欧洲语言然后那当然你必须要就是我相信，如果我选择了别的语言，我现在就不是一样的人，我现在就不可以给你们分享这个故事。然后对，这门语言很难，生活当中很多东西都很难。如果你选择拒绝困难，你之后就不是一样的人，你可能是更好的人，你可能是更智慧的人。然后当你处在特别艰难的境地，如果你选择挑战困难，你就战胜了自己。我觉得这就是每个人人生的目的。那学语言来说，我觉得最重要的就是有个目的，很明确的目标，让你继续学它。那就是我之前提到的那个秘密，现在也告诉大家。现在或者在注册那个会议的5个月前我觉得就是我的中文不太好，但是我想一想，什么样的情况可以让我学这门语言学得很快？那就是用中文来演讲是一个特别棒的挑战。然后但我还不会表达最基本的句子，那没关系，要学习。我本来知道这是特别困难的概念，可是生活也是这样。那后来我发送给他们我的申请之后，我觉得我刚刚做什么？但是之后我觉得就是这个情况让我对我学中文的过程很上进。然后我觉得虽然我本来有一点紧张，今天我的演讲我的目标是达到的，这让我很开心。然后最后我想要告诉大家，没关系，你会遇到生活的很困难的东西，因为你是对你自己的人生负责。谢谢。有一些建议吗？ Does anyone have any opinions, any questions?
Thank you. Is it true that you learned this language in 8 months? Oh.
Yeah, in 9 months.
Is it 9 months?
Yeah.
What does it mean? Were you studying every day 8 hours?
Well, in the beginning it was like 10 hours, maybe even 12. But yeah.
You mentioned at the beginning we should always be aware of substantives, adjectives, but I thought you were going to give us a formula how to work with this information. You just said we should be aware of that? Is there a formula?
Okay, so the formula is just to be able to distinguish what these things are, to be able to work with them. It's not about, like, there's no key to learn languages.
Just mentioned to be aware of that.
Yeah, okay, so look, the reason why I learned this language isn't about me being able to distinguish some things that you people are not able to, or something like that. It's just stupid thing to say. The reason why I learned, let's say, that I am on this level of Chinese at the moment is because I was able to see their culture as something that I can assimilate to myself. And actually, one of the things that you need to assimilate if you're learning Chinese is just daily grind that they have in their culture. They just spend every day on learning, on trying to be better. And I think from every language you can learn something like that. So I would say this is the key to anything. You just need to understand the culture.
Okay, I thought you were going to give us a formula.
Well, I'm sorry, there's no secrets to learning languages.
No, but thank you. That's a good idea.
Sure.
Thank you. Can you talk more about memory palaces? How you used it and what you think they're best for in your experience?
Okay, so if it comes to memory palaces, you can imagine a room, your room, or some place that you go by every day, so you know this place very much, or very well, and you don't have to spend your time on memorizing like a location that you came up with yourself. So it's just ingrained in your memory already. So you know a place that has trees, tables, stuff like that. People even you can imagine. You can take even this conference to be your memory palace. That you met people, that you met people that introduce you to situations that involve like your environment, what was around you, what were you doing, what people have you met, and what have you learned from them. So you imagine this place, and you go through this place in your memory with the language that you want to learn, and it's really good to reuse it for more languages, because it sticks better as you have more and more associations with it. And basically what you want to do is go through this room with one path. You want it to be always the same, because you don't want to use your memory, use your mental abilities to do everything completely differently every time that you do it. You just want to go through this place, and if one word comes after the other, then it's always like that. So if you want to remember, for example, seventh word in the order, then you can remember, okay, so I remember fifth word, so I can go through this one, or even from the very beginning. But you always have one path. And you also want to be able to walk out of that, not to feel trapped, because it's kind of phenomenon in the memory palace idea, that you can walk into it and there is no coming back, and then you cannot go to the other room, or you can, but it takes much more time. It's not just effective. It's not as effective as it would be if you would to walk into that mental space and walk out with it with simple route.
Is it only for vocabulary, specific vocabulary, or abstract vocabulary for anything?
Yeah, look, you could also say you could also have abstract vocabulary with that as well, but I think you need to get more creative with that. I won't have answer for you how to make abstract vocabulary into mental practice, because, well, it's very personal. If you, for example, if you don't like capitalism, then you will have different associations with it. So you'll have to have different, your own original associations with it. You can also take words and learn them in chunks, like red, blue, big, beautiful stuff, or big, small, beautiful, ugly, stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay, I have one question. First, I want to say I'm quite impressed by your capability in Chinese learning. Yeah. So if your speaking is perfect. Yeah. But I have some question regarding their capability in the other three capabilities, like say the reading, the writing, reading, and listening. So I basically have three kind of questions. First, regarding the reading. One of the key challenges for the foreigner to learn Chinese, even for our native Chinese, is the characters. So my questions regarding this is, first, how many Chinese characters you can write in this moment, and how many Chinese characters you could read but you cannot write? Yeah, this first question.
Okay, so I don't know how many characters I can write.
Yeah.
When I write Chinese, I find out that maybe 30 to 20% of what I want to write, I am not able to. But I recognize about 2,000 characters at the moment.
You can recognize
Yeah.
3,000 characters.
2,000.
2,000.
Yeah.
I could only read 3,000, so our distance. Our difference is 1,000.
Yeah,
but I spent all my life in learning Chinese. It's impression, yeah, really.
Yeah, but look, after
Level.
there are levels of knowledge about Chinese characters, and I would say after the first thousands, first thousand, it becomes easier, and after like 1,500, it's basically downslope. Like you can see one character once, and then you're set. You remember it. Not always, but often it happens. So the more I don't think that learning Chinese characters is only about this. Learning actually 3,000 characters in the like daily practice, day by day. Because there will be moments in which you will think, okay, I recognize every aspect of this character. I know the strokes, I know the elements from the other 1,000 characters that I already know. So the next characters are just like reusing the elements. So it becomes much more easier. So, I think if someone learns 1,000 characters, it's really impressive. The second 1,000 or third 1,000s are okay.
Okay, so then I continue with the second question regarding your reading. So in this moment, have you tried to read some rover in Chinese, like a famous rover in Chinese? And did you have any difficulty in understanding them? For example, I'll give you one example. We have four famous Asian Chinese rover. Yeah, the Junior Odyssey, the Junior Odyssey, 西游记. Yeah, they Hong No the story of Jam.
Yeah.
And also the empire of three countries. Yeah, 三国演义. So do you have tried to read this kind of famous rover?
No, these are way beyond my level. Like it's not even. Sometimes, and a lot of learners of Chinese have this problem, that you can recognize every character in the sentence, but you have no idea what is happening in it. It's very frustrating actually, because you look at the sentence and you should be able to understand it because you know every character. You have been learning for so many months, for example, and then you're like, what is happening here? So it's not always even about characters. It's also, I would say, it's not even about grammar. It's like a cultural thing. It's like you read a sentence and it's different philosophy to it than to the culture that you come from. I would say it's like that.
Yeah. Okay, my final question is regarding their listening. So right now, if you watch the Chinese news, what percentage you can?
Okay, so it depends on the topic. If it's about languages, if it's about making companies, stuff like that. Some couple of other topics, maybe meditation. I can understand it pretty well, like maybe even 90%. But if I'm not familiar with the topic, it becomes really hard. Like maybe 70, maybe even 60.
Thanks.
No problem.
Unfortunately, we don't have time for any more questions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.